We have a great guest coming on here, a guest who, in God knows how many different cities, in God knows how many different refs, against God knows how many different fighters, would have been crowned the heavyweight champion of the world. Yes, I'm talking about Otto Wallin. He is here with us. Otto, thank you for joining us today. I appreciate you coming on. It seems like they're feeding you scrubs. Everyone's afraid to get in the ring with you. What's the story?
Hey, thanks for having me on. Uh, I don't know. I mean, I just keep training, keep working, and it's been a little bit hard to secure big fights lately. But I'm really hoping I can get one now before the end of the year. So, yeah.
Well, Dillian White sure did everything he could to get away from fighting you. You had the great performance against Fury. Then you beat Brazil over 12 rounds, clearly lopsided. And then everybody wants to avoid you at this point in time. Your promoter is keeping you active. But do you feel at this point in time that your performance against Fury only hurt your prospects moving forward because now people are scared to fight you?
No, I mean, that fight has not hurt me at all. I mean, I think that fight has been great for me. It was a loss, but it's been more like a win than anything. So I'm really happy with how that played out. But I will, of course, want the rematch. But yeah, like you said, I was gonna fight Dylan White last year. That would have been the perfect opportunity for me, and the winner was gonna fight Fury again. So unfortunately, he pulled out and got to fight Fury anyhow, and got knocked out. And yeah, that was a little bit upsetting. But sometimes in boxing, you gotta have short-term memory and just gotta move on. So now after that, I've had to take a couple stay busy fights, smaller fights, and then hopefully, like I said, get something bigger now before the end of the year.
Now, we have an interesting question here from Clouds Gaming, and he wants to know how hard Fury actually punches because people say they don't look hard, but I mean he's plowing some of these guys over. What are his punches like in the ring compared to others?
I think that he's a big guy. Of course, he was what did he weigh against me? Around 260 maybe. So he's a big guy, 6'9". So he has a lot of weight behind those shots. But I wouldn't call him a big puncher. I mean, he's a big puncher, but I wouldn't call him like a one punch knockout artist. Even though he showed with Wilder and White that he can do that. But I mean, I've shared the ring with Joshua in sparring and in the amateurs, and I think that he is a bigger puncher. But Fury, he's a smart boxer. He's got a lot of skills, and maybe he's improving his punching power a little bit too. But I think that with Wilder and Dillian White, I think that Wilder, he doesn't have the best chin. We could clearly see that with Fury, and then Dillian White, I think he was the perfect style for him. So he handled the business good there.
Well, and I think that we unanimously believed on the podcast before the fight was canceled that you were going to beat Dillian White. We thought that you had his number yourself there. Are you trying to maybe make that fight again, or is there somebody else on your radar where you think that the fight can actually get made?
Yeah, I would love that fight with Dillian White. He's blocked me on Instagram for some reason. We never spoke there or anything, but I can't find him when I go looking for him. So I don't know, but no, I would love that fight. I think that's a good fight for me, and would be nice to fight over in the UK, uh, especially since a lot of people there know me from fighting Fury. So I think I have a pretty good platform there, and I would like to work on that. And Dillian White, that's a fight I really want. And there's been some talks and rumors about a fight against Joshua, but we see if he's gonna fight Fury now, that's not gonna happen. But if he won't fight Fury, I think I could be one of the guys that would be in line for that.
I think that could be a really good fight. Uh, do you personally do you think other than yourself, do you think that Usyk is the guy who can give Fury trouble at heavyweight, or do you think he's just kind of get outsized and that Fury can really play the role of big man in that one?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be interesting. I wouldn't count Usyk out, but I mean for sure Fury will be the favorite for me, yes, because of the size and and he has really good boxing skills. I know he knows how to use his size, and Usyk being a smaller guy coming up from cruiserweight, even though he didn't look that small with Joshua, but Fury, he's big. He leans on you. He knows how to use his weight, and he's a smart guy. Fury. He can box going backwards, fight coming forward. So I think that he probably beat Usyk, but I would never count him out though. It'd be really interesting to see that fight.
Yeah, I just what you did that gave Fury a lot of trouble was you weren't afraid. You were taking punches well. You were picking them off as you closed the distance, and you made it an uncomfortable fight for him. You got a little dirty, old school when you had to, stuff that a lot of people don't appreciate anymore. And I don't think that Usyk has that mentality where he's willing to kind of dig into the darker side of boxing to pull out the win and make Fury uncomfortable. If he's comfortable, you're not going to win.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's a good assessment. I think that Fury, once he gets comfortable, he's really hard to fight. He starts dancing or, keeping his hands behind his back and stuff, or grabbing the rope and punching. So you don't want to let that happen. And you got to be aggressive with him, and you got to show him no respect. You got to take him out of that element of being comfortable, just boxing and having it his own way. And it's a fight, so you're not there to make friends. So you got to do whatever you got to do to win the fight.
Absolutely. I always like Ricky Hatton said that this isn't a tickling contest, and we need to quit treating it as such, right? I believe Steve Wellings has a few questions for you. Steve.
Yes, thank you, Matty. Good evening, Otto. Thanks very much for joining us. My main question was, your coach, Joey Gamache, he once described you as one of the best boxers that he's ever trained. I was wondering what it's like working with Joey, because he seems to me like a really good tactician.
Yeah, thank you. He is. Joey, he has a lot of experience. He's been a two-time world champion himself, and he had good people around him when he was fighting. He had, a great manager here from New York, Johnny Boss, and then he had good trainers and good people that I think that really taught him a lot about the ins and outs of boxing. And then after his career, he went and started training people and spent a lot of time with Emmanuel Stewart. So he paid, I think he picked a lot up there, and he was with him for a few years, training Andy Lee and other guys. So Joey, he's a really hard worker. He takes this very serious, and that's why he doesn't like to train a lot of fighters. So he has me right now. He has Joe Ward from Ireland. He has, he gets a lot of people that reaches out to him, wants to train with him, but he usually says no. And that's because he takes it so serious. So with me, for example, if I have a fight, he's going to be watching tapes of my opponent every day and night, every day, just really putting the work in. And I met Joey first when I turned pro. I was in Germany for a little bit, then I went to Denmark, and that's where I met Joey. And at one point, he had 8 fighters, and it was just so much work for him. So that's why I think now he doesn't want to take a lot of guys on.
Yeah, my second question as well for you, Otto. You mentioned fighting there in Denmark and Germany. Obviously, Sweden is a country with a strong history of good heavyweights. You had Ingemar Johansson back in the day, who defeated Floyd Patterson. You had Attila Levin recently, Adrian Granat, who you defeated in 2018. But what does it mean to you to follow in the tradition, represent your country on the world stage, especially given the fact that professional boxing was banned for so long in Sweden?
Yeah, actually, I didn't even have it in mind really to fight in Sweden when I first turned professional. So I was lucky that, Sauerland, they picked me up over in Germany when I was an amateur. And I was in Sweden, they picked me up, the German promoter, and I had the chance to become a professional. And that was, there was not a lot of opportunity in Sweden. So I was really happy about that. And then following the footsteps with Ingemar Johansson and them, it's amazing. I'm proud to be from Sweden and to represent my country. And I grew up hearing stories about Ingo Johansson and different fights and other fighters we had. So we had a good tradition, but I think that, boxing took a big blow when it was forbidden for about 40 years.
Thank you. That's all from me. Thanks, Otto. Go ahead, Matty.
Andy, do you have a couple for Otto?
I just got the one question, Otto. Just obviously Steve mentioning there, obviously about the Swedish boxing ban. Obviously that's happened a number of times in Sweden over the last 50, 60 years. I think it's been 3 times as the sport's been banned in that country. What's the scene like these days, especially for amateurs? Because obviously pro boxing seemed to kind of start at 2006, I think it was, and you kind of took advantage of that because you were quite a very highly decorated amateur. How is the Swedish game these days? Because the professional scene doesn't seem to be picking up.
Yeah, we were doing pretty well. Yeah, you got allowed again 2006, 2007, I think, but with a lot of restrictions. You could only fight for 4 rounds, and then I think it was 2015 that Eric Skoglund, the fighter that we had, him and his dad did a really big job working with the government, and they did a huge. They had played a huge part in bringing real boxing back to Sweden. So with all that work, they had Eric fight a first. I think he fought 10 rounds or 12 rounds, and that was the first time in 50 years at that time, I think. So they did a really good job, and we were gaining some momentum. We had Eric, we had a few different girls that were world champion. We had myself coming up and different guys, Anthony Yigit, and we have Badu Jack. He's been in America lately, but it kind of stalled a little bit. Eric got injured, and people got older. Some people retired, and hopefully we get another generation coming through now. And it's just hard. It's not a lot of opportunity there with bigger promoters.
Yeah.
So hopefully that can change and more guys can be picked up, because there is some good amateurs. I don't keep track as much anymore, but we had some good amateurs. We had 2 people, 1 girl, 1 guy at the last Olympics. So hopefully there'll be more opportunity with bigger promoters and people putting out fights.
I've got family in Norway, so obviously I follow the scene over there, and it's a kind of similar situation. There's certain rules in place. You can't have 12 rounders, for example. They try and cap it at 6 or 8 rounds. There's not really many professional events. After Cecilia Brackhouse lost her titles, was there any pressure after Eric Skoglund's injury from the government, possibly, of maybe bringing in another professional boxing ban in Sweden?
Not that I know of. It's been kind of unfortunate because he had a brain bleed. We had this other girl, Frida Wahlberg. She had one. So we haven't had that many professional boxers, but there's been a few people that had brain bleeds, which was very unfortunate, of course. But I never heard anything about another ban, which was good. Because I think it would be hard to ban boxing now, especially since MMA and UFC is doing well there also.
Yeah. Thanks for that. When you go, Maya.
Yeah, it seems like banning a combat sport is in a way it's kind of against the what could be the culture there. I mean, y'all are a lot of big guys there. It seems like you could add generations of heavyweight boxers. I mean, going it's just you're built for the task at hand.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, sometimes when I hang out with Swedish people here, I remember that we're all so tall and big. Kind of got to get away from that. But then, I was we just had an election in Sweden, so I went to the Swedish church here. I voted, and then I noticed everybody's so tall, like me over there.
Yeah, and hopefully it can grow. I mean, it's just it's a great sport, and it always shocks me when it's been banned across the world. But keeping in that part of the world there, do you have any thoughts on if Robert Helenius has a chance against Deontay Wilder?
Yeah, I think he has a chance for sure. He's a big puncher, and we know Wilder doesn't have the best chin. I don't think so. But Robin might not have the best chin either, and Wilder is a huge puncher, so I think that's gonna be pretty interesting. But they've sparred before, so I got a feeling that Wilder wouldn't take that fight unless he knew that he was gonna beat Helenius. So we see what happens. But you gotta remember also that Wilder's coming off really hard fights with Fury, and we don't know how that's gonna affect him. So honestly, I think if Wilder hits him first, he'll win the fight. If Helenius hits Wilder first, then he might win the fight.
Yeah, I actually think that you could give Wilder fits yourself too, and it's specifically because I think Fury kind of found a bit of a soft spot behind his ear with more looping shots, and I kind of worry as a Deontay Wilder fan that you could do similarly to him. Have you thought about that? Have you noticed those particular punches, the ones that give him trouble?
Yeah, I think the biggest part is with somebody like Wilder, and I said this before the first, no, the second Wilder Fury fight. I said that I think that somebody can come in there with Wilder, just pretty much run him over. I think that he doesn't have the best defense or anything, and Luis Ortiz and other guys was doing really well with him when they kept their hands busy. Then they got knocked out in the end, but I think that like I said, I felt like somebody could just come in there and be aggressive with him and win against him, and that's really what Fury did that second fight. He pretty much just ran him over.
Yeah, he tried boxing him and almost cost him a knockout loss in the 12th round, and he imposed himself on him. Totally different story. And they're talking about Ruiz against the winner of Wilder against Helenius, and I can't see Ruiz doing anything against Wilder. He's big. He doesn't move his feet very quick. He can't stay at the end of Wilder's punches. He's going to get wrecked.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you see Reese. I think Reese is very good, but I don't think he's in the best shape because, now when he fought Reese, he did well. He knocked him down and everything, and then he takes 2 rounds off and doesn't do anything, and he didn't throw a lot of punches in that fight, and I would be worried against a guy like Wilder. I think that Ruiz, he could do well as long as he's active, but then when he takes breaks, he's just gonna let Wilder get set and take him out, I think.
Yeah, he can't throw 25 punches around and win that fight like he did against Ortiz. It's a shame. Does your promoter try working with the PBC to get you some of these fights, because they have so much of the heavyweight talent, and if you're not aligned with them, you're kind of locked out of a lot of fights, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, after the Fury fight, I had a really nice deal with Showtime. So I fought Kaufman, I fought Brazil with them, and then they had trouble getting me fights because it would have to be PBC fighters. We would try to make those fights, and for some reason it couldn't be made. So then we got the offer to fight Dylan White because I had been out of the ring for like 8 months or something, couldn't get fights with the deal I had. So we talked to Showtime. They said, yeah, you can go ahead, take that Dylan White fight because we can't really get you fights anyhow. So I was gonna fight White, and then it didn't happen. So how things happen, but yeah, I think that the PBC guys, they seem to want to fight each other, and unless it's for a world title, I think.
Well, that's a pretty rough situation. You're trying to chase your way up back to a title opportunity, and you just end up in the wrong position there. But it does seem like your promoter, Dimitri Salita, it does seem like he, God honestly, has his heart in it, and he tries to do right by his fighters. Do you consider him one of the more honest people in boxing from your time around the sport?
Yeah, I think so. I think Dimitri is a good guy. He does what he can, and we have the same interests. If I don't fight and get paid, he won't get paid. So we have the same interest. He wants to keep me active. He wants me in big fights because then we both make money. And I think it's just been hard for him. I think a good thing with Dimitri is that he works with a lot of promoters. So he was just over in England with Sky Sports and Boxer. They were going to have the Clarissa Shields fight. So he has good contacts there. He has good contacts with Eddie Hearn in the zone. So good contacts over here. So I think that's good with Dimitri, that he works with a lot of other promoters.
Yeah, it's and optimistically, he's going to get you some good fights. You said you're hoping for something big before the end of the year. We don't want to hold you on here too long, but anything else you want to say to the fans before we close it out here? We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you. No, I just want to thank everybody for supporting me. I stay in the gym. I'm training. I'm pretty much always ready to fight. So I'm just hoping, get another big fight and work my way up there and get another title shot. That's really, my dream, and that's what I want. So I want to thank everybody for following me on this journey and having patience with me. And thank you guys for having me on the show.
Hey, Otto, thank you very much for joining us. And fingers crossed you get something big coming up, because you've definitely earned it, sir. We believe that 100%.
Thank you very much. And thanks for having me.
You got it.
Cheers, Otto. Thanks very much.
Bra.
Thank you.